But let's hop over to Koenders' side since he is the higher seed from the winner's bracket.
All right, first bans Ruler and Volgan. Definitely makes sense considering you don't really want to fight one without the other. 𝗏𝗺𝗁𝗃 lead for Koenders. We already know that is about as aggro as he can get. But against a 𝗬𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, that is 𝗬𝗏𝗍 kind of calling the bluff. Saying if you don't bring a Tem that can beat my 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, you're going to be in for some trouble. Koenders, he's still mousing over this 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃, but I don't think he's actually considering it. I think he's just hiding his thoughts. As really, I mean, maybe Strangle 𝗃s if this is adrenaline shot is a good way to lead. Otherwise, I don't really know how Koenders is going to deal enough damage to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 on turn 1 that he can outspeed and kill with the tornado on turn 2.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point, right? There is no water Temtems, right? The only true answer, the only clean answer to that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 was indeed the rotor. But 𝗬𝗏𝗍 already one step ahead, banning the rotor, which I almost dare say perhaps he should have banned the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, but I guess Volgan and those strangle shenanigans as well problematic. So hey, Koenders picking up the dino as well as 𝗬𝗏𝗍. Let's see how these boys want to round out their team. Minotaur getting picked up. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, the tried and true combo for MrRishi. But alright, a nice little mental Temtem to try to take down 𝗬𝗏, and a really strong physical crystal Temtem for the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, and potentially even the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 back there. But something is telling me that the turbo choreography coming in, Grandpa most likely coming. But he does have to be a bit careful with the Minotaur. But honestly, Minotaur checks both the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃 and the Grandpa. So, okay, I'm trying to get the Grandpa going. And hey, guys, I hope you guys are ready. It is grand finals time. The top of the top 16 players coming in a best-of-3 situation. And this is it, guys. Final 2. MrRishi versus Mr. Koenders. And funny enough, they're both Misters. So address them with some formality, all right?
Neither of them have a Mr. in their in-game name. So I think we're in the clear. I think we can call them Koenders and 𝗬𝗏𝗍 for the time being.
Right.
So this initial turn, I don't know. This is still looking so... I mean, maybe 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 heavy? Is Hypoxia into Tornado enough to kill 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃? Considering there are 2 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃s out here now, do we have both Intimidator and Frightening? So we're not going to get the Slingshot or any traits, so no neutrality or air specialist on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm pretty sure 𝗬𝗏𝗏 is working with Intimidator because he doesn't want to nullify that ace shot from Volgan, right? So he's not frightening. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure Koenders is frightening because 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 didn't get the fake beard, as we're seeing here right now. So yeah, potentially everything gone, and considering the traits, considering those gears. But 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 just kind of fearing that potential Hypoxia, as you mentioned, swapping into 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃. But ooh, the beta burst instead of the Hypoxia. Well read.
I've got to say, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃, I really appreciate you bringing that very beautiful Luma 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 into the finals. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty. And hey, it has done so much work for 𝗬𝗏𝗏 as well. But you know, it kind of came into a little bit of a bully session. That beta burst followed with the embers, already under about a 3rd HP. So just one more little embers, or just another beta burst. I didn't see how much the beta burst did the first time, but I dare say it was a bit more than 27%. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 may be able to get off a final 3 priority plague on the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 perhaps, but not much more than that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to be the most damage in the world. 𝗬𝗏𝗃 hard resists and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 with the high special defense. But it is a good start, considering now Grandpa is here, and we don't want many Tems resisting Grandpa Gamma Burst, doing more than 50% on the swap-in. That is not what Grandpa wanted today. Turbo Choreography from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃 is a nice little buff, means that at least the 1 HKS that Grandpa can click will deal a lot of damage. But oh my gosh, 50% just like that on potentially the hard carry of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily for 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃, he at the very least got that 75% increase with the Wind Synergized Turbo there. So he should have the speed advantage. And I think the only 𝗬𝗺 right now is frightening, right? So it doesn't get rid of anything like neutrality. So, oh wait, what am I talking about? It's still a mental Temtem. It can't go to sleep. The only thing able to go to sleep will be the 𝗬𝗺 here. But okay, the hook just to get the speed, just to get the increase on attack. But the tornado, he's just overexerting. He's just trying to go blow for blow, and look at that, almost 70% down. I think that overexertion was well worthwhile, right? He almost took down the 𝗬𝗚 single-handedly, 50% from the 𝗬𝗵𝗶, and then 60% on the 𝗧𝗵𝗆. 𝗏𝗀𝗀 does so much work.
You know what? Even considering all of that, I don't know. 𝗏𝗀𝗀, it was saved in the back because I think he needs to do more. Another turbo choreography, this time coming from Grandpa to do the work that Slingshot would have done. Another hook on the 𝗏𝗏𝗄 instead of that Stone Trench, not wanting to wake up 𝗬𝗵𝗆, dealing much less damage to 𝗏𝗏𝗄 in the process, means that there's potential here. Hasty Lunge might just outspeed a +2 Stone Trench and do a lot of damage onto this Grandpa. I don't think that a single Hasty will kill from 50%, but it definitely gets it low enough so that a single hit from any other Tem will kill.
You know, funny enough, if it's close to max attack, I'm not too sure Koenders spread, of course, but I think a close to max attack does take it down, but I'm not too sure. Maybe there's some defense investment, but either way, I do think that 𝗧𝗏𝗆 with the Stone Trench at 100% increase might just get the upper hand against his 𝗏𝗏𝗄, right? I think we saw it in the past. It does take it all the way close to 100, which is relatively where it's at right now. So yeah, two Temtems able to take each other out. Who moves first? That 3 priority Hasty Lunge, as you said. Or is it going to be a +2 speed, which is also 3 priority virtually on this 𝗧𝗏𝗆 is the question.
Oh, I guess we're about to see HKS for what looked like an overexertion onto 𝗬𝗏𝗆. What? 33% just like that. And it wasn't actually an overexertion. I didn't see any damage on the Grandpa. The Stone Trench enough to kill both of these Tems. Board wipe for Rishi. It looks like it was the OX this time on... Yeah, 𝗧𝗏𝗆 does OX just a little tiny bit. That means it did get the extra Vigorize boosted damage, but that means that it's not really feeling good this turn. A single 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗶 and kill is on the cards for Koenders if 𝗧𝗏𝗆 stays in, and if it swaps out, there's not really anybody it wants to turn into. This 𝗏𝗏𝗆 hard counters the Tataru in the back, and 𝗬𝗏𝗆 getting its holds. That means that hook kick will be available next turn for whatever comes in, or it leaves, comes back later, and hook kicks the 𝗧𝗏𝗆.
Yeah, definitely. You know, one Temtem that definitely stands out is this Temtem that Rishi is bringing in right here, right? If he's able to deal with the 𝗏𝗏𝗆, of course, a whole lot easier said than done by any chance. But 𝗬𝗏𝗆 looking good against the mix, looking good against the 𝗬𝗏𝗆, but helicopter kick, as it was the only available technique right there. But does he click something like just a simple beta burst, or does he go heavy? Because I know gamma burst is back online, and where is he throwing it? Okay, I think he had to get rid of the Grandpa, so it was that right hand spot. But of course, that gamma burst might have just killed the Tataru, huh? I don't know if 80% was too much.
Yeah, that is asking a lot, but we do know this 𝗏𝗏𝗆 from Koenders is a mad lad aggro owl. I mean, it's done so much this game. It's done so much during the other matches we saw in upper bracket finals, and it still has a lot more to do. I mean, it's gotten the Gamma Burst onto Grandpa, Gamma Burst onto 𝗬𝗏𝗆, a lot of damage onto 𝗬𝗚𝗚. This is just the 𝗏𝗏𝗆 show. He's basically got a 5-0 with the owl.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering, I mean, Tornado's online, and he normally wouldn't have enough stamina, but he does have that 1 tick of Invigorize, lowering the consumption by that 50%. So hook kick on the 𝗬𝗏𝗆, getting it close to death. Does okay, doesn't exert too much stamina, so the beta burst is enough. And we were just saying that this 𝗬𝗏𝗆 was such a good threat against the remaining team, but perhaps he feels confident that the 𝗧𝗪𝗀 could pretty much do the heavy lifting against those crystal Temtems. And now with the major slash from the Tatter, you know, you never throw a neutral into a mental, but in this situation, that was exactly what MrRishi needed to do. And well done, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Rawrzyyy, is Stone Trench back online? Or he went off while he just used it, right? I don't think it was it's available, because if it is, this is almost gonna be a GG.
Yeah, there's no Stone Trench this turn because he overexerted for the trench that killed the Minotaur and Tyrannoch. So he can Flaming Meteorite, and considering he outspeeds everybody, he does Flaming Meteorite. That poor Nebula, 100-0 very, very quickly. Now, Gyalis does have the ability to kill here. Helicopter kick, no hook kick because it was just used. It does kill the 𝗧𝗪𝗀, but I don't know. Now, Tataru is not an easy Tem to kill. Grandpa is not an easy Tem to kill, especially considering Hypno Turbo Choreography HKS would be enough to kill with no threat. So it is going to be a concession.
Yeah.
Would you believe it? The first ban on Rishi's team is 𝗧𝗪𝗀 this time.
Yeah, definitely couldn't believe it, right? It did so much work, especially considering he had Minotaur going down in a single shot. Gyalis mixed with that Flaming Meteorite, so I think that is definitely appropriate. But you ban the 𝗧𝗪𝗀 and you leave the Rotor, but potentially he has a better matchup against the Rotor only because it doesn't have Slingshot, right? The biggest issue there was the speed from the 𝗧𝗪𝗀 because it even outsped that 3 priority hasty lunge, right? So I think Rotor a bit more of a less of a nuisance, if you will. So we'll see if it favors Koenders just a slight little bit, as long as the 𝗧𝗪𝗀 is no longer to be dealt with.
Man, I'm thinking about what Rishi wants to do here. Because of Tyrannoch, Strangle into Adrenaline Shot won't work. But Purgation on Ruler is so terrifying. A turn 1 Sharp Leaf to trigger Reactive Vial. It's hardly not going to do any damage at all, which means the turn 1 base jump or head ram or unseen blow, whatever it is Koenders wants to run on Venks, is all that we would be seeing. And I think a Purgation on the Ruler is more than a win compared to that lead on Koenders.
Oh, I could totally see that. And you know, one thing, I believe Koenders, as we said before, he is working with the Frightening Tyrannoch, right? So he's going to be negating that Reactive Vial on the Rotor. So we'll see. Maybe it gives them a little bit of an edge, but we'll see indeed. I mean, both of these Temtems are really tough to take down, but I agree, a Purgation on the Rotor is looking kind of juicy for MrRishi. But knowing that, I wouldn't blame Koenders to try to focus it down ASAP, only because you have so many Crystal Temtems in the backline for the Volgon, right? So might as well try to deal with the Rotor. And oh, it looks like he's going to be swapping it out as soon as turn 1.
Yeah, Purgation on Tataru almost feels even better, doesn't it? Because now turn 2 Major Slash will be so terrifying. Sharp Leaf hardly doing anything. Headram doing a little bit more, but still less than 50. Strangle on 2 Venks with no Adrenaline Shot proccing due to Frightening means that 𝗧𝗪𝗀 can't Purgation this turn. Bridget all on assuming her own. And Major Slash is still going to do good damage, but I don't know. Rishi with that swap with so much damage on turn 1, he's not going to be able to replicate that this turn, which means Koenders kind of has the better lead.
Yeah, I do think so as well. But of course, I don't think Tyrannoch has anything available to him to take down the Tataru in a single shot. But I guess the same can be said about Tataru, but I guess a Major Slash doing a bit more. The only thing I can see potentially like a Meteor Swarm. And it looks like he's trying to get... Oh, no, never mind. He doesn't have another Fire Temtem. It's going to be a double swap. So gets that mix in here. Gets the Minotaur for potentially get the Black Hole online. So almost checking everything. But, oh, this is just what MrRishi does best, right? He just gets that speed advantage. And he knows exactly how to make that to his advantage, right? So +3 speed Volgon, +3 speed Tataru. And Outburst is online if he wants to throw that in there, or potentially swap into something like Rotor, anticipating the Crystal Spike from the mix. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this does feel good for Koenders, though, so far. You mentioned that the mix is in a pretty good spot. It could potentially do a lot of damage onto either of these Tems. And 𝗏𝗏𝗃, he's not really at risk of taking too much damage, right? Rishi would have to make a swap. And even then, if 𝗏𝗏𝗃 gets its black hole, Rawrzyyy doesn't like that damage.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really likes that damage, but of course you do eat a little bit better with some of those wind techniques, as it is going to be neutral. Oh, but as you said, Rawrzyyy coming in, at the very least there is no Tyrant on the board, so you do get that reactive out proc, but instead the mix going to be retreating for now. In comes the Tyrant, so oh, I spoke too soon, huh?
Oh, but no one going to be able to attack next turn. That's a little bit unfortunate because Volgan's not really doing anything into this board. Black hole onto the Rawrzyyy, getting no reactive vial, which is going to be fantastic. So much more damage than I was expecting. Wow, 46% on Rawrzyyy. It came in pretty much full. That was like 97, 98%, right?
Yeah, I thought it was at 100 actually. It did exactly as you said, all the way from 100 down to 46. Impressive amount of damage. But you know, a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? The Frightening Tyrant coming in and removing the A shot from the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 this time. So not trying to get off more plays. But to be fair, he doesn't have black hole until next turn regardless, right? So hasty lunge isn't going to be doing anything. I'm wondering though, I mean, wait a second. I think that's fine because the outburst was everything resting anyway, so I think the frightening does all right here. It doesn't really do anything as the outburst already did that job for him.
Well, I think that A shot was also burned earlier with the strangle on Vanks.
Oh no, the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 A shot.
Oh, 𝗏𝗏𝗃, I'm sorry.
Oh, but he didn't use that because of he did black hole. Forgive me.
Yeah, but now double swap means this Thunderstrike is doing absolutely nothing. And I would imagine hook kick probably doesn't kill on its own, but a hook kick into a 𝗧𝗏𝗺 or even 𝗬𝗵𝗶 into Crystal Bite.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how Koenders wants to do this, but Rawrzyyy needs to go down this turn. It cannot be allowed to rockfall.
I think so as well. I mean, we do know Tardy Rush is just one more turn from going online, so I wouldn't blame Koenders to throw everything at this rotor just because it's that one Temtem. As we keep reiterating, it does so much to the 𝗏𝗏𝗃, the 𝗬𝗚𝗃, the mix, and hey, decent damage onto virtually everything with those gorings, with those new with those drill impacts, of course. So I like what you're saying. Something like 𝗬𝗵𝗶 into hook kick. I'm a little bit worried that the 𝗬𝗵𝗃 ends up doing about as much damage as the reactive recovery, and then the hook kick doesn't have the double damage to follow suit. But oh no, yeah, 3 priority.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question about that actually. Because we already see reactive vial next to Rawrzyyy, is it not going to proc? Because technically it was supposed to proc its single hit under the frightening, so we're not going to get to see anyway anymore, but I don't think that it would have procced, come to think of it. I think that actually would have stopped it from hitting again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was supposed to proc just like an A shot was supposed to proc, so yeah, it got used already. You're absolutely right. But yeah, in this circumstance, the hook kick was more than enough to take the rotor all on his own, allowing that setup turn for Koenders, which is massive, right? 50% increase on that special attack. Nothing is looking good into things like that, right? A little 𝗬𝗏𝗃 even looking strong against the Tataru. A Crystal Spike might just be enough to take down the Volgan in a single hit. And you know, Grandpa and 𝗏𝗏𝗃, they haven't really started their speed just yet. The sharp stab into... Okay.
Turbo choreography, though. We knew it was coming. We gotta get these Grandpas going fast. And 𝗧𝗏𝗺, after that +2, is going to be a lot of damage from 74 down to 26. It does die to a Crystal Spikes this next turn. It does outspeed as well, but I don't know. Is a 𝗏𝗏𝗃 swap on 𝗬𝗚𝗃 the way to go?
Oh, I'm wondering that too. Potentially, right? Because 𝗬𝗚𝗃 takes way too much from a +3 speed hyperkinetic strike. So I think that's a safe bet, right? I mean, now 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 feeling a little bit good, right? You swamp in 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 like you said. You get Black Hole online just in case 𝗏𝗏𝗏 comes in. And yeah, I think Koenders is taking a little bit of what you're saying. Oh, it's going to be the 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Interesting. So 𝗬𝗏𝗏 coming in instead. Hyperkinetic Strike, making sure is coming in and getting punished, right? Virtually 60%. The Hypoxia, is this gonna be enough? Not enough, but close.
Yeah, I mean, that did so much extra damage because of the last rush on 𝗃𝗃, but still 𝗵𝗏𝗏 enough to kill. That's a little bit surprising. I feel like that was a risk that was unnecessary, right? The only potential swap in there that it would have been better was 𝗏𝗏𝗏, but even then that's questionable because +2 going for that crystal spikes, that would have been fantastic damage.
Yeah, perhaps Koenders just already kind of backtraced the TVs and knows exactly what he's working with against the grandpa and just took the risks, right? Because he didn't really need to save all that stamina. He does have a sweatband on the mix. But hey, why not? If you already did a little bit of the quick maths and you had confidence in it, might as well to buy Hypoxia. I don't think it did over 20, but actually it did. So 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 does go down. But what is online is the Size Surge. So Major Slash, we know it's not going to be enough, but the Size Surge should be way more than enough on little old 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. 46%, most likely all the way down. And that is right. This mix might just be the hard carry Koenders needed to take this game number 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 coming back in now against Volgin, who doesn't stand a chance on this board, and 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who really doesn't like it either. Crystal Bite Hook Kick is a strong combination against that very physically weak Tem.
And there we go. I think Rishi already understood the entire bigger picture, and Koenders will be going up one more game against Rishi. So
this time Koenders loses his 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Rishi still losing that Volcrane. Koenders learning his lesson, not letting Volcrane through. I mean, as soon as the ruler gets banned on Koenders' side, there's absolutely nothing he can do against a Volcrane.
Yeah, nothing indeed, and that's exactly what he did, so it worked well for him that following game. So we'll see. We'll see. It might just be a mirror match, but no, it's going for the grandpa instead, which is not too bad, right? Grandpa has virtually been almost like the MVP for a lot of games for MrRishi. But I think Koenders opened this. No, he did 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 last game. Okay, I think it was in game 1 where he opened 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Yeah, slightly different this time around. Grandpa getting in early is going to be interesting, though. It's not too much turn 1 threat, but if it gets those turbos nice and early, we could potentially see, you know, +6, maybe even +8 HKSs coming through this game, and that would be incredible. I mean, that's +8 HKS in a grandpa. We're talking like 𝗂𝗀𝗽𝗽 a tanky Tem territory damage. That's really, really scary.
Yeah, absolutely right. I haven't seen a +8 speed hyperkinetic strike in some time, so man, I would love to see it here in our grand finals. But this will be game number 3, virtually game number 4. Since Koenders did have one more game up following, or as the beginning of this opening set. But all right, it looks like he will be retreating for the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there. Drill Impact probably looking into that, so gonna be eating it quite well. Sharp Leave doesn't get the reactive outproc because of the frightening, not too shabby. But you know, Rawrzyyy, I don't think I've ever seen an offensive mental technique from this 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, right? I think it's a bit more of a support.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of bamboozles. And there must be something there. I don't remember if 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 gets telekinetic shrapnel or not. I think it does get Black Hole, but not Matter Teleport. I think 𝗬𝗵𝗏's the one with Matter Teleport. I confuse the two of them and their movesets far too often. But yeah, I think that this Rishi's 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is a little bit similar to Lelouch's old 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, where it was just max speed going for a lot of bamboozles, a lot of hypnos, a lot of support.
Oh, and he's just gunning down that support there, and almost there, right? Because 12.5, I believe, is what two fire ticks will be doing. So just 3% shy of going down. So any little attack should be the addition that it needs to be brought down. But so far so good. So far so good for the side of Koenders, not taking too much damage. And you can't say the same thing about MrRishi's board state, right? The Valiar does have some protection, as it seems to be the fastest board, or the fastest Temtem on the current board with those bamboozles. But if you just double into that spot, it will be going down. But perhaps the bigger threat, as we've said in the past, might just be the 𝗬𝗺 with those 2 crystal Temtems in the back. So we'll see. Getting off a final stair on the opposing 𝗬𝗺 is probably going to come out really valuable. But yeah, as we thought, right? The 𝗬𝗺 was a bit more impressive. So he's just trying to get it down as soon as he can as well.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big deal. I think a stair on Rawrzyyy would have potentially led to a kill there, but stair on the 𝗬𝗵𝗶 is good for the future. Flaming Meteorite not even going for AoE on Koenders' side, which means Valier is allowed to survive for one more turn, but 𝗬𝗺, after taking the goring Flaming Meteorite, he's not looking very good. Rawrzyyy now with the tardy rush, potentially outspeeding. I don't know. I think Valier is still going to be faster considering the goring has been burnt. But if this isn't another offensive attack on Rawrzyyy, it might be allowed to survive long enough to goring next turn.
Yeah, and you know, it could have been he didn't want to go for the AoE because he's thinking he could get the AoE right now. The Rockfall will be ending the Valier's days here in our grand final. So down it goes. He overexerts like a mad lad though, virtually going down. The Ember is not going to be doing too much as it already was burned, but it does add 1 additional ticket burn for the following turn. So those Grandpa... You know, Rawrzyyy, I thought the Valiar was going to get off like a final stair, but perhaps his rotor is just way too fast, regardless of the 3 priority. That's impressive.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell from looking at the rest of the team. You'd think that this Rawrzyyy is probably base speed or just a little bit above it to fight the counters. But that was pretty speedy. I wasn't expecting it to outspeed anything there, unless Valier was going for 1 prio for some reason, but it just doesn't feel like that was the play.
Yeah, I don't think so as well. Maybe if it had a black hole without the synergy, that was 1 prio, but probably went for the stair. But of course, this is what Rishi has been doing so much times, getting so much use from that super conductivity Volgon. The Thunder Strike should be more than enough. It was just at a single percentage points away from going down. And I think that was proper, right? You just leave the rotor in. Why get way more hurt in the back line there? Even though you can eat it decently well with one of your crystals, might as well just take single digits instead of a bit more like 10%, 20% on these other Temtems. And now you have a whole lot of pressure looking down at the Volgon. But I'm more concerned with this Grandpa, right? So I'm thinking Koenders might just be leaning that way as well, because I think he could deal with the Volgon slightly later. Grandpa's the one going to be dishing out heavy amounts of pain with those hyperkinetic strikes, especially considering it's already at +3 speed. But first things first, Rawrzyyy, do you think he goes for a Hypno or just keep things straightforward with the HKS?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that, well, he can't Hypno right now, I guess, because immunity on 𝗬𝗚𝗃 and mental on Mix, so it has to be the HKS for damage right now. Not taking very much in mirroring thanks to all of that damage coming from the speed part of HKS's algorithm. The double in with Hook Kick and Crystal Spikes, Crystal Spikes, means that Grandpa goes down, the Big Luma Bird is no more, there won't be a +8. An Adrenaline Shot Strangle on Mantis means that Volgan probably doesn't die this turn either, and 𝗬𝗺 coming on the board means that neither Mix or 𝗬𝗚𝗃 are happy here anymore. And there aren't really the best swap-ins, right? You don't want your Venks to take unnecessary damage. It is a really bulky Tem, but I don't think the HP is fantastic on Venks, right? It's like mid-50s or low 60s maybe. So
yeah,
you don't want to take those unnecessary hits when you know you've got a Tataru in the back that's incredibly bulky. So 𝗬𝗺 it is, swapping in for the 𝗬𝗚𝗃, but the double swap as Venks comes in for the Mix. I have to imagine Venks is the one taking this big hit. Purgation on the 𝗬𝗺. Oh, this is scary.
Yes, indeed. That 1 priority with the synergy, adding a little tick of embers onto the vents for this turn and the following one, almost taking down 𝗬𝗵𝗶 the 𝗬𝗺 in all. So, now with that +2 attack increase on Tyrannock, those Crystal Temtems are quite terrified, right? If MrRishi could protect that HP a little bit more, you know, 𝗬𝗚𝗃 retreated without hook kick online. And the biggest attack the mix can do is a Psy Surge, which is a single priority. So Tyrannock looking pretty poised to one-shot, or virtually one-shot those Crystal Temtems. So I think Rishi has to do a good job preserving a bit of that HP. But I guess that means you have to swap in Tataru. And I don't know. Ah, man, this is a tough predicament for Rishi, right? Because you don't want to give up the Dino just yet. Vex is 30% reduced though, right? So a Savage Suplex not looking all that frightening. But actually, in that regard, maybe Tataru is okay then, right? Because you're only taking you're taking that -30% from the Vex. So it's not that crazy. Because I do think Tyrannock has a decently better matchup against those backline crystals than Tataru. I say that, but Tataru is at 100%, so probably it might be a little bit even.
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping Flaming Meteorite alive for the mix is going to be important later. But Tataru does have quite a lot of work to do in its own regard. Swapping in here means it's probably going to level out its HP, give or take a few points with the Vex. Except it will be exhausted, which means major slash has to be the click. It can't be the extra energy slam. It can't be relying on stamina for long because there just isn't any to go around.
And hey, I like this play from Koenders, right? Bringing in that 𝗬𝗚𝗃 just to get everything online. I believe Crystal Bite was already there, but just in case it needed the hook kick online, now it has it for that Tyrannock, right? I don't think a hook kick will single-handedly take it down from 34%, but a hook kick plus a little 3-prio 𝗵𝗵 if they find themselves on that board probably does the job. But focusing on the current board, I believe Vex has something like Ninjutsu, but it will retreat for the time being. In comes the Dino one more time. Let's see what Koenders has in mind. Does he just go for the Volgon? And that he does, but it hangs on by a hair.
Major slash onto Mantis is probably enough to kill. Only 40%. It wasn't very much for the Crystal Queen, and another strangle. This time, thankfully, on the low HP Stumpy, rather than on something like this mix, who's going to be much speedier, much more aggressive, and deal much more damage to both of these spots.
Yeah, you know, I think Koenders thought that one through, and he was alright letting go of the 𝗬𝗚𝗃. Because now we do know Psy Surge is indeed online because he swapped it in the previous turn. You know, Koenders has done an excellent job of doing double swaps just to get these hold moves online, right? That's what I'm really impressed by Koenders. Because now either Tataru stays in, virtually falls all the way down, or you don't want to swap in Tyrannock, right? I mean, they're both valuable at this point, but I do think, wait a second. Tataru going for the turbo. Does he think he could just outspeed next turn? So he's confident he's living Rawrzyyy, but the Psy Surge on the Volgon. Interesting.
Yeah, that was Koenders reading the Tyrannock swap, wanting to get that damage done now so that it could be killed next turn with that synergy energy manipulation. But now it's not going to be so. I have got to be honest, I don't remember which one of these Tyrannocks is faster. I know that we haven't seen the speed arrow swap because of them, right? So one of them is definitely built a little bit speedier. I feel like it would be Rishi, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll keep our eyes peeled out, but the held anger, making sure the Tyrannock does not have anything to say. So, you know, we're not going to be finding out anyways. Perhaps if we do go to a game 5 situation, was Rishi looking likely the 𝗵𝗵𝗃? Not even going first because of that previous turbo, right? If it did go first, Tataru would have had to overexert, and the embers going in, allowing it to be in that Puppet Master range. But we do know Tyrannock does have access to those meteor swarms, which is AoE damage, so he's not really safe by any means. Well, I like this play from Koenders, preserving the Vex until this very moment. Can a ninja jutsu from this Vex take down the Tyrannock in a single blow? Because AoE is not available for the Tataru, right? And Psy Surge is online. Is that a winning line for the side of Koenders?
It just might be. Ninja does a lot of damage. Tyrannock down at 29%. it'll be close, but I think that it does kill. I'd probably expect like 36, 38%. The Mages / does go first. Vanks 58% down to 28. A lot of damage dealt in OX energy manipulation on Tyrannoch. Good play from Koenders, understanding that this poor Tataru is about to overexert, which means double the dinosaur, confirm that kill. And now it's just the win for Koenders, right? There's nothing that Bridget can do to kill Nebula. Savage suplex number 1, 27%. Rishi going out like a man, taking the damage, showing respect. And GG's to Koenders.
That is right, guys. We have ourselves a grand champion for our monthly invitational, and Koenders all the way from the Netherlands, staying up rather late, if you will, just for this event. So big ol' love to Koenders, guys.